Hello, everybody, to another discussion about a different topic today on the channel with Express Yourself with Fern. So, today I wanted to talk about, and it's probably going to be a shorter video, but something I just kind of thought about, and I don't understand why people spend their time and they're worried about the wrong, things on a daily basis. For instance, I'll give an example. We're people are protesting in Washington about the overreach of of the government into policing and sending the National Guard to take care of crime, which is okay, but is that what you're worried about on a daily basis? Have you looked at your credit card statement? 30% interest on your credit card because you bought groceries on Saturday? That should be the outrage. That should be the protest in Washington. Not that the National Guard is trying to, take down crime in Chicago or whatever. Why are we not talking about 30% credit card interest? That keeps you poor. That's a problem for an individual and for a family. Why are we not outraged about that? Why isn't there a protest? Why isn't anyone going to Washington and talk to the president about the ridiculous interest on credit cards and car loans? Why don't we talk about that? Why do people worry about transgender issues like that's the number one topic in a family? Why are we not talking about college tuition out of control? Why isn't anybody talking about that? Why don't we tell our kids the so-called college experience is a sham? Kids coming out with a $150,000 loan for a bachelor's degree because they went through a college experience? How does that make any sense? $150,000 for a bachelor in communication plus interest, which is about probably today 6-7%. Why are we not outraged about that? Why isn't there a protest? Why isn't that on the news? I just don't understand. Like, people worry about the wrong thing. They spend their time looking at and watching and complaining about the wrong topics that don't affect people. You have a mortgage as a student. You graduated. Congratulations. Now you have a mortgage to pay. You don't even have a job and you have a mortgage. $150,000 at 6% is a mortgage payment. How is that okay? And we're okay with that. We're not outraged by that. Are we looking at our insurance premiums? We cannot afford full coverage on our cars. And insurance premiums just double for no reason. No claim in the last 10 years and you still have to there's an increase in your premium just because. Why are we not mad about that? Why isn't there letters sent out to the government to regulate that? We worry about, again, the craziest topics that don't affect us. Why are we not worried about what really matters? We're talking about, lately, rent is up, house prices are up, right? We are, and that's true. Why are we not talking about all these corporations and companies that are allowed to purchase residential homes? Why isn't that an outrage? Why are they allowed to do that? They should not be allowed to purchase residential homes as a corporation or a company. That raises the rent, that makes it a lot more difficult for people to purchase homes or rent. The rent's, it's outrageous because of that. Why are we not worried about that? Why isn't anyone sending, blowing up the internet about that? We complain, but we don't do anything about it. We protest about the silliest things. Let's wake up, people. Let's do what matters. Like, let's worry about stuff that affects us every day. Let's talk about that. How can we make a difference? We're buying groceries on credit cards at 30% interest, and we worry about some war in some other country. How does that make any sense? Why are we having, why is there why do you get a bill at home from a hospital when you have health insurance and you already paid the deductible and the bill is like $900? Why is that so? Why are we not outraged about that? Anyway, I know today it's a different video, more of a rant, but I thought I kind of expressed myself. I wanted to express myself about some issues that, I realize how bad it can affect us on a daily basis, and yet we spend our time worrying about some topic that has zero impact on our daily lives. Anyway, let me know what you feel. Like or dislike, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.